Bene's Bloody Bits.
Welcome to Triple B. My name is Jason Bene. He's film historian Malcolm, founder of Potatoes Harvey. And it's another Monday, and we're going to talk about remakes that we think that are better than the originals. And these are, except for one of the 10 picks, I got 5. Malcolm has 5. These are not your normal, you're not going to see The Thing, The Blob, or Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So I like that we kind of mix it up with our choices.
It was very hard considering you picked all the good ones for the most part.
I picked mine first and I left the scraps for Malcolm.
It was hard, but good luck to us both, I guess.
So 1994 was the original adaptation of The Stand. Mick Garris made it for television for ABC, but unfortunately, you got an R-rated book, and it's got to be on ABC that has standards and practices when it comes to gore, violence, nudity. So I think that's a very well done series. I watched it when it came out 30 years ago. I was a little bit pessimistic about the newer version, which was on Paramount Plus a couple years ago, but I found it to be stronger because of the things that Mick Garris couldn't do on ABC. When you go to Las Vegas, right, the city of sin, which is a big part of the story, they're allowed to go there with strippers and the vulgarity of it and the violence of it. And the acting is just as good in this new version, which was directed by Josh Boone. He also made the Marvel X-Men horror film, The New Mutants. And I dug it more. It had a different ending. Stephen King decided the original, more upbeat ending with a kind of hand of God comes down and everything's fine. He wrote a more true ending where good will always be around, but also evil. And I really feel like people need to check it out. It's streaming on Paramount Plus. There's
a bit like The Mist then. So a bit like The Mist where the ending was changed.
Yeah, but I think it was for the better. And The Stand, this new version, I really loved it. And I think more people need to check it out.
Nice.
Did you ever get a chance to watch it?
This isn't the new one, is it?
This is the one that came out, I want to say, 3 or 4 years ago. And it was
I haven't seen it. But I know it's the one that came out. So it was in that double pack, wasn't it, with the other one?
Yeah, I think they did both versions.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see it yet. So, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, I think people might have a bit of a chip on their shoulder because, it's a remake, but it almost feels like just a new version. I think they have a bigger budget. And like I said, the big thing is they can go there with the more, violent nature of the story, where when you're on television, right, where a little kid could just pop on the TV, you're very limited on where you can go. And I'm sure Mick Garris would agree, hey, in a perfect world, I would love to make this absolutely true to the book. The new version gets to go there, and I think it's a very strong remake and probably one of the best ones of the last decade.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so that's pick number 1 for me. And now we're going to go to Malcolm. The Toolbox Murders.
Oh, the Toolbox Murders, yes. Now, I love the original one, except for after the first 3 minutes where the killer stops going around killing people and ends up just holding a girl hostage. That kind of ruins the whole movie after that. But I think the bit with the one in the bathtub and that's supposed to hold you over on that movie. This one is different because it basically has this guy in rags around his head in the apartment complex, and he's going around killing people, and he's hiding in the walls and stuff. And it's actually a really, really good movie, which really surprised me because I didn't expect anything good from this, when it eventually came out. And it's actually got quite a good cast in it, even though I can't remember half of them.
Angela Bettis, after she did May, was in Toolbox Murders.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't, the one, what's her name? Wasn't Julie Benz in it? Or was it the other one? The one who played Darla was in it as well from Buffet. She was in it. But yeah, it's actually got quite a good cast and it's well worth watching. And it's one of those ones where it's kind of like in the middle. And what I mean by in the middle is it feels old school, but it also feels like it's on the new school of a DVD, you know, straight to the DVD kind of. Look, it's a got weird concept because it's a dark film. There's this great atmosphere of the people being in the building. There's noises. There's people going missing. There's a good payoff. I think it's definitely worth seeing. I think it's one of the better remakes out there.
It was written by Adam Garash and Jace Anderson. They also worked again with Toby Hooper on Mortuary. Toolbox Murders is the last great Toby Hooper film.
Mm.
And it went straight to video. It didn't get a theatrical release. I own the DVD, and it's really solid. I hope somebody puts it out on Blu-ray. I think it's long overdue for an upgrade. It hasn't been available for like over 2 decades on home video.
Yeah, which is sad, really, because it's well worth it. Then they made the second one, didn't they? They made a second one, which was just horrendous.
Yeah, I never watched. I think that Shout Factory put it out on Blu-ray or Screen Factory.
Yeah, it was like a cash-in on it, wasn't it?
No, this is a really good pick. I was tempted to put Toolbox Murders, directed by Toby Hooper. Check it out, people. Okay, number 2 for me, and this is going to shock some people, Child's Play. Look, I like the original film. I'm a big Tom Holland fan. He directed Fright Night. That's one of my favorites. Him and Chris Sarandon. He brought him back for Child's Play, but yes, we get a horror icon out of Child's Play, but the movie is fairly straightforward. You know, you got some voodoo, you know, serial killer spirit being put into the doll, but Chucky's fairly limited in what he can do. I'm lukewarm on some of the sequels. I did enjoy Chucky, the television series, but this version plays more on the technological terror. That's what I liked. It took advantage of what we use in our modern life, right? Like cell phones, technology, how much we rely on just different things, you know, for, you know, turning on our
motion
TV.
Motion
Sensors, security for our house, right? Panic rooms, all that stuff. Great cast. Aubrey Plaza is in the film.
Cool.
I think this is a precursor to Megan. I think Megan took a lot from this version of Child's Play.
I'll definitely agree with you there.
I think Chucky looks kind of wonky. They obviously changed his look. He doesn't, it's a reboot, so you want him to look different. But I remember after I was done watching this film going, man, I know I'm going to be in the minority, but I thought this was a much better film than the original. The original is very good. I don't think it's great. I think it's overrated. I don't think it's a classic. This one, I think a lot of people just blew it off because it's a remake, and how dare you. I know Don Mancini wasn't happy with this being remade, but if you could just watch it for what it is, a technological terror film, I think it works, you know, perfectly, and it's damn good. And I have no problem saying the new version of Child's Play is much better than the 1988 version.
And I agree.
Thoughts, prayers?
Let's be honest. Mark Hamill's perfect in the role of the good guy doll, the buddy doll. And let's be honest, the song itself, I'm your buddy, I'm your friend, that's a fantastic song. The whole pace of the film is perfect. It's exactly what you'd imagine the good guy doll to be like, basically, if it wasn't taken over by a voodoo doll. The ending alone is fantastic. I'm really shocked there wasn't a sequel to this version, because I think this is the best they could have ever done, and this with a remake of Child's Play than what anyone would have thought. Because let's be honest, we would have, if you watch Cult of Chucky and all those, they're nowhere as good as this one.
Cult of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, those straight-to-video ones weren't too hot. Yeah. I did enjoy the 3 seasons of Chucky. Unfortunately, it didn't get renewed, but I think Chucky will be back in some straight-to-video form.
I mean, personally, I feel like this film has everything that you'd want in like a modern killer doll movie. You know, the kid's fantastic in it. Aubrey Plaza's incredible in it.
And she's
just
hot,
good. She's well hot, especially in the to-do list.
Before I
But I will say this to finish off on it. I will say that I think this movie is definitely better than the original one.
before we get to Malcolm pick number 2, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And let's get to, we follow up Toolbox Murders with
Oh, cat people. I don't have to say much about this. I've got to say it's Malcolm McDowell. There's a guy with my name in it. And there's a Kinski in it. So, yeah, how else can it go wrong? And there's quite a bit of nudity and a lot of eroticism, which the original black and white one didn't have. And me, I like my sex and that in the movies. So there you go.
You know, I regret years ago when I did do the convention scene, one show, Nastasia Kinski did show up, and I'd never seen her show up to one since. And I kind of kicked myself for not meeting her, not realizing that I don't know if it wasn't a good turnout for her or she was turned off by whatever. I know if you do your research, unfortunately, her dad, Klaus, did some pretty screwed up things to her growing up. If you can imagine what kind of weirdo that guy was, he messed her up a
Klaus
lot.
Kinski, a weirdo. You'd never guess it from looking at him and seeing what he does, how he acts. And I will say this about, I think what happened was with the conventions is she went and then it came out about what had happened, like on a full scale. And that probably stopped it because, let's be honest, people are going to ask questions. And people are going to go, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And that's not what people want to hear. You know, like when you've got nothing personal towards them. But this is a really well shot movie. I actually think it's a better updated version because that's why the other one's really old. And I do love the original one. Don't get me wrong. I think it's amazing. But this film just has everything you'd want in like a modern version. And it just kind of feels more
Horny.
feral. Yeah, more horny, more feral, more what you'd expect from a movie called Cat People. I think this is a phenomenal movie. I can't remember who directed it. Do you remember who directed it?
Paul Schrader.
Paul Schrader. There we go. That's another person I'm going to get in trouble for not remembering now.
So you understand you enjoy the more animal instincts because it's more of a kinky.
Yes.
It's a Nastasia Kinski film, right?
Hey, kinky Nastasia. Like there we go.
You like that?
See, you're getting there. There you go. Brilliant movie, though. It'll be fun.
I can't remember the last time I watched this. It's been way too long. I believe Scream Factory put it out on Blu-ray.
I've got the 4K and I couldn't find it because I was going to watch the 4K today. Just to kind of, remember better because I picked it off the list. And I couldn't find my 4K. So it's like a movie I've seen like 10, 12 years ago on, I think it was Blu-ray.
I need to check it out again because I think I would appreciate the more adult themes of this film. Okay, so my next one, Black Christmas, the black sheep of 2000 slasher films. Look,
yes,
I respect and appreciate Bob Clark's original. Without the original Black Christmas, John Carpenter really couldn't have done Halloween. If you look at the POV, the point of view shots in the film, you don't really know who the killer is, and so it's definitely a scary film. But this is like the deranged stepchild of the original film. It's the complete opposite. It's gory, violent, eye gouging, incestuous movie. You got everything that you could think. They threw the whole kitchen sink in this film. You got the jaundice killer, so he's all yellow. And then his mom totally mistreats him and kind of plays like Rob Zombie's Halloween in a way. It's kind of like a trailer.
It's like an early version, isn't it?
The mom, she's with her boyfriend. He can't get it up, so she goes and straddles son. It's fucking wrong on every level. But give Dimension Films credit. This was released on Christmas Day, 2006. I took my wife, who at the time was my girlfriend, to see it, and I just shook my head going, how did they get away with this? I mean, eyeballs being popped out, ice picks jammed everywhere. Also, this is the most beautiful cast I've ever seen in a horror film. The ladies all attractive. Even a little bit of nudity. The one girl gets in the shower. She was also nude in the tanning bed death scene in Final Destination 3. I wish Glenn Morgan would have directed more films. He did a lot of X-Files and Millennium. He did the remake of Willard. This film, I'm not going to be an apologist. I fucking love this remake, reboot of Black Christmas. A lot of people are coming around to it. Like they're kind of like sheepishly, like, I don't want to say I like it, but I really like it. But it, because of the Christmas colors and the ultra violence, it plays like a giallo.
Yeah.
And I know that there was a theatrical trailer that had scenes in it that weren't in the movie. Some people have claimed it was never shot for the film. It was just made for the trailer. I don't know that.
Yeah, but sometimes
true.
it's the case.
I love Black Christmas. I find it a much more enjoyable film than the original. I haven't watched the original in a long time. I watch this at least every year or every other year.
Ooh. I remember watching this film because I watched this before the original. And after watching this, I didn't really think much of the original. Now, don't get me wrong, the original one is a cult classic to a lot of people. And I get that. But for me, this is the ultimate one because it's just so wild. It's got Lacey Shaver in it. And let's be honest, she's like one of the most fantastically beautiful women in the world, along with Michelle Trachtenberg. And yeah, I just think it's really funny. The jaundice killer, the fact that he's yellow, the weird relationship between them, the whole kills, like when she gets killed outside, and it's a brilliant movie. It's just so much fun. It's one of those movies that you put on and you just know you're going to have a good time with it. You don't have to overthink it, but you're going to be like, oh, wow, every now and again because of these reveals. And I like it. I think it's a good film. I really do. I think it's underrated.
What's intriguing is Lacey Chabert is in this film. If you look at her now, all she does is these Hallmark Christmas films. Little did she know this was going to be the first of many Christmas films that she's in. Like, because my wife will watch them every Christmas, and I'm like, let me guess, Lacey Chabert. Almost every one is with her. It's too funny.
You know, she's called the Hallmark Christmas Angel. And I know that because I own every single other Hallmark movies.
Again, I will reiterate, this is the most beautiful looking cast of women I've ever seen in a horror film. And I've stood by that for 18 years since it came out. So we're going to go from Black Christmas to She's a Maniac.
Maniac on the floor. This Maniac, if you ask me, is the best one. True story, I bought this on Blu-ray. I think it's an IFC release, I think. And I bought it West by Walmart. I was in America. And I was down on the sofa and I had it on and I fell asleep. And then I woke up and I was like, what's going on? All I could see was from Elijah Wood's eyes on the screen. And it was like I was dreaming, running this girl over and screaming. It was really weird. I thought it was in a dream. But no, it's Maniac, because I love how it goes from his point of view throughout the whole movie. And you kind of feel his inner faults, and he's very crazy. And it's very different for Elijah Wood. And it suits him because it's so creepy and so, gets in your head. Especially if you have, these psychotic thoughts of, oh, is my wife going off with that man? Do I need to run him over with my car? Well, just watch Elijah Wood and you'll feel like you relate. Very well shot. Actually came with a letter inside the Blu-ray saying, thank you for buying this because this is a passion project. And it was beautiful. Incredible movie. I feel sorry for Elijah Wood at the end of the movie because it's completely damaged. He's got head injuries. He's got broken bones. But, when you get obsessed with a woman and, you go a little bit crazy, those sort of things happen. And I feel bad for him in that sense. But it's a brilliant film, better than the original. I don't like the original one. I've watched the original one multiple times. I just find it extremely boring, except for the head explosion scene.
I mean, it's hard to make a movie contemporary like, the original Maniac directed by Bill Lustig, he used to do adult films underneath the name Billy Bragg. So he brought that sleaziness into it. And no offense, Joe Spinell is no Elijah Wood. They definitely casted a more attractive person, but you had Caroline Munro to balance it out. But I was really surprised they did the ending. Kind of shot for shot where, he gets ripped apart. I didn't think they would go there because, the original film is hard to watch. I mean, it's got great Tom Savini effects, but the newer version was just as, nasty and, hard to watch.
I think the only thing that makes the original one better is if you were around back then in the Grindhouse style, the original one has that Grindhouse look. This one's a little bit more clean in that sense. But I really, really like this film. I dig this film a lot. It's one of those films where I want to pick up again because obviously my moved, I had to get rid of it. But it's a film I want to pick up again because I do think Elijah Wood is an underrated actor. I do think he plays a character like this really well. And I feel like he's not your obvious choice, but he obviously nailed it.
So Maniac. Now we're going to move on to a film that definitely could be played on a double bill with Black Christmas, Sorority Row. I'm not a big fan of The House on Sorority Row. Spoiler alert, not every slasher film from the 1980s is actually good. This definitely took the mold of Black Christmas. I mean, look at the cast. It's almost similar. All beautiful women. They added Carrie Fisher in it, so I always love to see her.
That scene with Carrie Fisher with the shotgun is hilarious.
I think the body count is better. There's more violence in the original, but this one stuck with me more. Came out in 2009. Not much fanfare. I think a lot of people are kind of getting burnt out of remakes at the time, but it's really a solid film. I think it outdoes the original. It's definitely slick. It's kind of like Maniac to the original Maniac. It looks, shot with digital cameras where the original shot on film. But yeah, I'm always going to support this one. Good kills, good twists, looks great. And the cast is delicious. I mean, it's just
especially on the right. I had a real thing for her, the one on the right. Oh, I used to watch the Step Up. I think what was Step Up? Was it Step Up 2? Step Up 3? What was it?
She was in Step Up, and she was in a lot. She was in the Mother's Day remake, I believe.
Yeah, she was in a lot of those ones in like the 2000s, and then she kind of disappeared.
Brianna Evigan or something like that.
Well, she was beautiful. I still love I love the joke of this. How it starts off with a joke, and then she's dead, and then it's like, ooh. What about the bottle, the champagne bottle? Oh, right in the mouth, But the Carrie Fisher bit's the hilarious bit of the shooting and the things floating like, ooh. Some of these kills were hilarious because it's like a person, like a monk's rope almost, kind of going around killing. It's kind of funny. I do like this film. It's actually one of my favourite ones.
Oh, and it's got a beautiful Asian woman in it too.
Yes, and I can assure you that that beautiful Asian woman in my mind, multiple times when I was a teenager in bed, I took care of business to this cast. Yes, and Black Christmas. So, yes, I highly recommend both these back to back on Christmas. And also, what people need to do is they need to go, who got the most horriblest kill? It's obviously the champagne bottle person for me. Awful.
The bottle. I think it could have went a little bit further with the creative kills. I feel like that's the memorable one, but I still give this one the upper hand over the original by far.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're going to go from
the original one's actually pretty good, actually. You don't know. The Invisible Man. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I like The Invisible Man, the original one. But it's more of a comedy for me, where it's dancing down the road and everything. This one is brutal. Elizabeth Moss is basically beating my husband and all this, and she basically ends up escaping, and then all of a sudden, people think she's going crazy. Because he's pretending to be dead. And it's like, when he wears like this weird kind of like Ant-Man like costume, but flutters so much it goes invisible. It's so creepy. The scene that makes me jump the most is when she looks in the loft with the light, and all of a sudden, when she throws the thing. It's such a good movie. You know, and it's one that looks perfect on 4K.
One of the best scenes of the film, I want to say she's at dinner with a friend, and he basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you've probably seen it more than me. He's invisible. He's at the restaurant. She doesn't know it. He grabs a knife, slits somebody's throat, and he puts the knife in her hand so it'll look like she killed them. And it's just,
and she ends up in the asylum thing.
And it's weird. It reminds me of kind of like The Entity, but in The Entity we don't know who the person is, and it's kind of going after this woman. But this guy is an abuser, even beyond his human form. He can be so much worse, invisible. And Lee Winnell, the director, really has a good eye for horror. I know that next in a couple months, January 2025, he's going to do a remake of The Wolfman. So kind of Blumhouse or Universal are kind of doing their own
looking Wolfman.
Yeah, maybe it'll look better than what we've seen, but they're kind of creating their own dark universe. He did Invisible Man. He's about to do Wolfman. I'll wait to see it. I'm not going to judge it off of some of the early designs. It probably will look different on screen.
Hopefully.
But I do agree with you. I'm not a big fan of the original. This one, definitely a different take. If you're going to redo it, mix it up and go places where you haven't gone before.
And that's the thing that makes this one so good, because it's basically the fact that he's so intelligent, and it makes him even more evil in the sense that he's actually done it with a costume, with like an outfit that's invisible, and which seems more believable than, I drank a potion, now I'm completely invisible. And Elizabeth Moss is so good in this as being like completely going crazy in her fault. And let's be honest, the ending is such an amazing payoff.
Exactly. He's not. This is not an accident. He knows what he's doing and creates this suit, which makes it more insidious, right? It makes it more.
Yeah.
This guy is
evil,
twisted. Invisible.
And just the tone of his voice as well. It's like, oh.
Oh, I'm already on my last pick. The Town That Dreaded Sundown is kind of like a requel. It's a remake, but it's a sequel. It is in the universe of the original film. They do acknowledge it. I don't think the original film is good at all. Yes, it came out in the 70s, and it's from the director of The Evictors. So what? This new version, produced by Blumhouse and Ryan Murphy of American Horror Story, it's almost like Dario Argento directed The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Beautifully shot, the colors, vicious, the violence. It makes you forget about the original. It's so good. The mystery of the killer. This is a Blumhouse film that's easily top 3 of all the films they've ever released. People don't really speak of it for whatever reason. They haven't seen it, haven't heard of it. This is a fantastic remake. Probably the best that I've seen in the last 5 years. It's right up there with the best, like The Thing, The Fly, movies like that. I own it. I would gladly buy the Blu-ray. I do own the DVD. The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Masterpiece.
I've not fully seen the movie. I've seen clips of it and enjoyed that, but I've not really seen the movie completely, so I can't say much about it other than I like the style of it.
This is Malcolm's push to go see it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere.
Probably is.
Yeah, dude. I don't want to say too much, especially now I know that you haven't seen it. It's a great film. Didn't get a lot of publicity when it came out. Direct to video, kind of. At the time, Blumhouse was pushing a lot of things like Mockingbird and all these other films were going direct to video. And I think it kind of got lost in the chaos of the release schedule. But people, check it out. It's really well done. Let's get to Malcolm's 5th and final pick.
Ooh.
This one I will agree with.
It's a fly. This one, I've got to be honest, this one always makes me cry. I always get really emotional at the end of this movie because what happens to Seth. So it always makes me very, very depressed. But I will say, if you get a Dan Cronenberg Fly movie, this is how it's done. It's such a perfect mix of horror, body horror, and emotional horror, where it's just a simple, nice guy who's trying to figure out something, is, like a scientist, is doing really well, and then just one mistake, a simple thing, hurts him and slowly makes him deteriorate. And there's some really disgusting things like when his thing falls off, or when he starts going through this thing where
Fingernails,
and
fingernails.
when he starts like vomiting on food so he can eat it, and it's just so well. And Jeff Goldblum in this is so brilliant in the role. It's just such a perfect mix of romance, but with horror, and a perfect romance going to this horror, and this other guy being in love with the woman, and how he wants to hurt him because of what's happening, because he doesn't understand, but she wants to protect him. It's a very Romeo and Juliet style love story in a lot of ways. And it outshines the original. Now, the original one's not bad, but nothing really goes on in it for the most part until the very end. Help me, help me. And as this, you just feel awful because the final scene, which I'm not gonna ruin it because what I'm saying, but the final scene is just heartbreaking, and it's like perfect in that sense.
Vincent Price was alive when this came out, and he wasn't a fan of it. And I understand, because his generation was probably like, why are they remaking all the films that we did? Like, our generations probably doesn't like people remaking stuff we grew up with.
It's more brutal as well.
To me, The Fly is Cronenberg's last masterpiece. It's the last pure horror film he did. The special effects were amazing. The love story is absolutely tragic. I know Cronenberg said this movie wasn't a metaphor for somebody who had AIDS, but I don't know how you could not.
It does seem that way, actually. Good
his
point.
films always did deal with like diseases and how they transform the body. And the AIDS epidemic of the 80s was about people losing their identity. They didn't look like they used to. They were losing weight. There's a line that sticks with me where Seth says, when he's already kind of changed into the Fly, I'm a fly that dreamt that he was a man and he loved it, or something like that. And I feel like when you get a horrible illness there's no cure and it's not irreversible, you almost dream like the days where I was healthy and I was able to get up and do stuff. It seems like a distant memory.
Kind of like being a really terminal cancer patient, in a hospital.
AIDS especially sticks with me, where he looks in the mirror and he's like, oh my God, what? I don't look like I used to look. I got, because when people get AIDS, full-blown AIDS, they get Kaposi's sarcoma. It's the sores they can get from their head to their toe. And I will spoil the ending when he's fully transformed and he knows it's time to go. And he's causing more problems. And she's, Gina Davis's character's got the shotgun. He literally grabs it and moves it to his head. Just talking about it makes me upset.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
I mean, I know Cronenberg after this did Dead Ringers. And he kind of went from the king of Canadian horror to more of an auteur. But 1986, Fox released this, and Aliens in theaters. What a great year for horror. But yeah, The Fly, The Thing, The Blob, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, those are the pinnacle for me. Those are the top, the best of the best. But these 10 movies, I'm going to recap them. So you get a little reminder here. I went with The Stand, Child's Play, Black Christmas, Sorority Row, The House That Treaded Sundown. Malcolm went with Toolbox Murders, Cat People, Maniac, The Invisible Man, and The Fly. Yeah, man, those are some great films, but The Fly, wow, that's just it's every time I watch it, it's very difficult to watch because
Yeah.
that ending really sticks with you, and it's such a sweeping score.
Yeah.
And the
The bit
effects.
where the bit at the door is stuck on him as well as he's dragging along.
And the sequel is not as good, but it's still really well done. The Fly 2, directed
I
by
like the sequel.
the guy that did the makeup effects for the original or the remake he directed the Fly 2, Chris Walas. So yeah, I'm glad that we were able to pick not the obvious. I mean, the Fly I think
Yeah.
I could have went with some of the other ones, but The Usual Suspects. But I wanted to give it a little, a new twist to things and maybe introduce films that people haven't thought of or didn't realize were,
Definitely.
redone.
Well, there's a lot out there. I mean, when I looked on Wikipedia, remakes, I was surprised, but there were remakes of films I didn't know there were remakes of.
There's so many.
There's me looking there going, oh, I didn't know I said a remake. I need to look this up.
There's probably more remakes of horror films in the last 25 years than the prior 75 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
seriously, it's so many. A lot of bad ones, hard to keep up with them, but I'm glad that we were able to pick the good ones.
Me too.
Let me throw this out there before I forget.
Okay.
Thank you guys for watching, sharing, and all that good stuff. We're going to be back next Monday. What are we doing? Our favorite horror film from the 2010s, so very recent films. I already got my 5 picked out. I'm going to see what Malcolm's 5 are. I believe the following week, we still have a couple weeks to Halloween. I think the following week we're going to do Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, and then I think the last Monday of the year, which is before Halloween, we're going to do Trick or Treat.
Trick or treat, smell my face, give me something good to eat.
Yes, and why it's the greatest Halloween film of all time. That's right. That's my opinion. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and continue to check my videos out. Malcolm is starting to pick up the steam. He's starting to do more videos on his channel, but he hasn't done one in a couple weeks, so he needs to do another one.
That's true, I do.
Do a solo. Do whatever you want. The thing about it is when you have your own channel, Malcolm, and you know this because you've had a channel longer than me, you can do whatever you want. Whatever's on your mind.
I might do a video of me streaking down the road.
And then you can get banned.
You said I could do anything on my channel, so you lied.
Well, you can, but as long as you stay within the rules and regulations of YouTube. But thank you guys for watching. We will talk to you soon, and stay scared.
Take care, guys.